Welcome to Sports Beat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Friday, August 7th. I'm Blair Kirchhoff. The Royals emphatically put an end to their 6-game losing streak on Thursday with a 13-2 victory over the Chicago Cubs. Everything seemed to go right for the Royals. It's about time something did. Beat writer Lynn Worthy discusses the week for the Royals. We hit on the encouraging notes like the young starting pitching, and we spend some time talking about the energetic young outfielder Nick Heath, a local product who made his first major league start on Thursday. After a break, you'll hear from the happy, maybe even relieved, Royals manager Mike Matheny, and stick around to hear from Nick Heath, who wore a big smile throughout his post-game meeting with reporters. So here we go, talking Royals with Lynn Worthy. Okay, Lynn, I said to myself last weekend that we'll catch up with the Royals after they win a game, and so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday came. Here we are on Friday. And yes, the Royals have won a game, defeating the Chicago Cubs on Thursday night to end the 6-game losing streak. And they busted out, did it in pretty impressive fashion, all up and down the lineup and pitching as well. So I don't know, an aberration, a sign of things to come. Where do you put? I know Mike Matheny was feeling good about that game last night.
Yeah, he was feeling good. I think he was feeling good just because of the way things had gone. I mean, to see the way he put it was like they were seeing things that they were encouraged by. They were seeing things that were heading in the right direction. They just weren't getting the results. So to get the results last night was definitely a lift for him, just because I think you can see after some of these games and some of these losses where it was getting to be a little disheartening. I mean, he wasn't, down in the dumps, but it was, it was hitting him because I think he's one of those guys who wants to win every game that they go out there.
For sure. Look, and they came into the season with some promise, and things didn't break their way early. They came into last night's game with a 3-10 record, and they take a 4-10 mark into the weekend series at home against the Minnesota Twins. Still one of the worst in baseball, but again, feeling better after the 13-2 victory on Thursday night over the Cubs. Hey, let's start with starting pitching and the young starting pitching. That has been maybe a little bit better than expected so far. The efforts of Brady Singer and Chris Bubich. They have, we didn't expect either one of them in a normal year to have started the season with the Royals, but it's not a normal year, and they are now, in the rotation and been pretty impressive in all their starts so far.
Yeah, I mean, Singer was the one that we thought was the furthest ahead, so it wasn't that surprising, especially with the way their rotation was. Because you remember at one point they were. They'd come into spring training with 4 starters, and at one point early in the season they had 1. So, I mean, that was, something had to give there because you had Brad Keller and Jacob Junis started off on the IL as they were working their way back from COVID. Then Mike Montgomery made 1 start and went on the IL with a lat strain. So that just left Danny Duffy. By that point, Singer was already in the rotation, but so you had just a couple of guys. So Bubich had to get pressed into duty, and he's looked good. I mean, that first start, you could just tell that the guy who never pitched above A ball was feeling some jitters, even without fans in the stands, to be spraying the ball all over the place and hit 3 guys. I think he hit the same guy twice. I mean, it was. I think to me, that first start, the first 2 innings was more so just him getting adjusted to the moment as opposed to how he's going to perform. And then the second start, he looked really good. I mean, the second start, he pitches 6, gives up. I think it was 6, give up 2. I mean, they've looked good. Talking to Dayton Moore last week, he had said that going into spring training originally, they had sort of thought, okay, on a regular year that they might be looking to bring these guys up June, July, and let them start in a regular year. The regular year meaning they would have had some time in the minors, and then after the pandemic and the break and spring training 2.0, they really looked at it, and according to him, they didn't see a need to sort of alter that plan drastically, even though it wasn't a normal year. And then the opportunity obviously presented itself when you had need in the rotation with three guys going down. So here you have Singer and Bubic making their starts every fifth day, and now you finally have a five-man rotation again, which is for the first time all season that the Royals can say that.
Yep, and that that five-man rotation now includes Brad Keller, who not much older than Singer and Bubic, who are in their early 20s. Keller's 24, Singer's 23, Bubic's 22. I think I've got those ages right. I know Keller's a little bit older, and certainly a year ahead in terms of experience, a couple years ahead in terms of experience. And he looked good last night with five shutout innings. His pitch count was in the mid 70s, I think, when they got him out. He had a big lead. It was just very favorable conditions for him to pitch with the Royals jumping on the Cubs early and then building that lead. But even with that, I thought Brad Keller looked really good and beyond what I expected for a guy who hadn't pitched this year.
Yeah, I mean, for the fact that he hadn't pitched all season, for the fact that he had a spring training that was interrupted like everybody else's, and then he had another spring training that was interrupted not like everybody else's by COVID, and then he's been doing the live batting practice, simulated games at the T-Bones ballpark and such. But for him to come out there in his first game of the season, to throw. To get through five complete, 75, strikeout seven. Slider looked really good. He was talking about adjustments they had made with the slider, where in past years, especially when he gets ahead of two strikes, like that's a put away pitch. But he'd been in the past sort of bouncing it and it being a pitch that guys could sort of see, and it was really more of a waste pitch. Where last night, as we're here talking on Friday, last night that was a pitch that looked a strike until the end, and guys were just swinging over the top of that and looking helpless.
Yeah, yeah. It looked. I mean, that's his. I don't know. He's made. I don't know how many starts for the Royals in a couple of years, but I don't remember him looking as impressive as he was last night. He's been good at times for sure, and he's definitely part of the plan going forward. But it was encouraging to see him throw as well as he did, and the Royals needed that. They just needed a good effort from Brad Keller. You know, they got great efforts up and down last night, but the one guy I want to call out is Nick Heath, who made his major league not his debut, but his first major league start. Got his first big league hit, drove in a run, scored a run, and of course he ended the game with a catch that in which he crashed into the wall in left center field. So really good night all around for Nick Heath. And I saw you on the Zoom call last night with him. He was one excited guy, wasn't he, after the game?
Yeah, yeah, he's also a kid who, I mean, he wasn't born in Kansas, but grew up in Junction City. Went to Junction City High School, so he's not far from where he grew up. Still has family in the area. I think his sister actually lives in the Kansas City area now. This is a big deal for a lot of people surrounding him, including him. But also a guy who was, I'm trying to remember which, I want to say it was 17th round that he was picked. I'd have to look again. But so this wasn't, a guy who everybody was, pegging for the big leagues from the jump. This was, a late bloomer who was going to go the community college route and then ended up going to a college 4-year school, basically because the coach ended up there. And now here he is in the big leagues, and speed has been his ticket. But they think he could be potentially more than that. And just by, again, opportunity has sort of landed him probably a longer look right now, because you've got, Bubba's on the IL. Franchi Cordero had a wrist thing that pulled him out of the lineup the other day, and the fact that Heath is here, the fact that they decided to keep him when they had to cut rosters down to 28 from 30 means that they're going to try and give him a look and see what he can do, see if he's just going to be a speed guy or see if he's a guy who can do more than just be the pinch runner who you need to steal a base.
Right. Mom attended Kansas State, was a track athlete at K State, and participated in the 1988 Olympic trials. So, athletic gene in the runs in the Heath family. So, what do we know about Bubba on the IL? Have they? What's that about?
Well, they have not announced an injury, which I mean, we'd be speculating, but I mean, I could say this: typically this season, when they don't announce an injury, um, it usually leans you assume that it may have to do with the ongoing health crisis. Let's put it that way,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
because if a player contracts COVID, the team is not allowed to announce that unless they get permission from the player. So guys can go on the IL for COVID, and there would be no injury listed if a guy went on the IL for COVID, and then they wouldn't necessarily announce that he went on the IL for that unless they got permission from the player to do so. Which is why like the Royals have announced 8 guys, I believe, so far this season. But there's a couple other guys who've been on the IL with no injury. There was no announcement made, so you don't know. I mean, yeah, there's an
Right.
assumption there, but you don't know.
It's not
Um,
official, right? You can't
yeah,
officially
so it's
say
not.
that they.
Yeah,
That's why it sits at 8. The number of players that have tested positive.
yeah.
Um,
That's why we put. That's the whole reason why if you see it written, usually it's written as announced because there's a couple other guys that we probably suspect had it, but they never announced it, and without the team announcing it or the player confirming it, and we're not, we don't have open clubhouses where we can just go in and talk to guys on a regular basis. So you're not really going to confirm it unless they put them on a Zoom call. And some guys, I mean, and there could be other guys that we don't really know. I mean, they're at the alternate site. They could have guys that you don't see, the sort of out of sight, out of mind thing where they could have had it and you would never know because they were gone for a while, came back, but you would never talking to those guys or seeing those guys because that site's closed. So that's
right.
sort of the way it is this year. It's not just a Royals thing. That's happening around the league where you see guys that go on the IL. Sometimes you see the announcement. Sometimes the guys make announcements themselves. I believe that's what happened with the Cardinals, Yadier Molina and a couple of guys announced it themselves, and then the team announced it. So that's sort of the season of COVID. That's sort of the way things are going with the IL, but you don't have an actual confirmation on that. That obviously is talking in general, but specifically, we don't have a confirmation on Bubba. Just that he went on the IL. No injury designation was given, and I did check just to make sure that there wasn't an injury that we just missed or anything like that. But no injury designation was given.
Okay. Hey, I want to talk about a couple of other kind of offensive topics here. One specifically started the week on Sportsbeat KC with Sam Mellinger and Vahe Gregorian, and we spent a lot of time talking about Alberto Mondesi. And up until then, it was just a tough. It had been a tough start for Mondi. He's had a good week, and I thought his hustle double on a ground ball to the second baseman that got through, and Mondi ended up at second base was a big moment in the Thursday night game. It's good to see him have the kind of a week that he's had. He's got his numbers back up. He just looks. I don't know if more engaged is the right term because I don't want to suggest he was not engaged in the first couple weeks, but for whatever reason, he just seems like a different guy the last few days than the first couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean he's just playing better. I mean I don't know if it's an engaged thing. I don't know if it's just still getting back into the swing of things because it's easy to forget that he finished last season with a season-ending surgery, and then didn't play in games in the first part of spring training. The first day he was in the lineup was the day the spring training got postponed and shut down. Then he went back to the Dominican where he was able to do some live stuff, but it sounds like there was it wasn't as structured a setting as you probably would have liked to be off for 3 months, and then he came back for the 3 week spring training 2.0, and then go get him. So maybe it's just him getting back into the swing of things. Maybe it's getting back up to speed. It's also, I mean, the struggles we were seeing was in a normal season we would probably just say that's a small sample size, but the season's just a
Right.
lot shorter too. But I know like there were especially after the game in Detroit where he ended late in the game. He didn't end the game as the second to last out, I believe, where there was the pop up that got dropped and he wasn't
Yeah.
running all the way, and he got caught in between first and second, and then decided to try and get to second on the pop up that was dropped, and just turned into a mess where he gets thrown out trying to get back to first. There's a lot of I think there's a lot of people feeling some type of way about the way he was going right then. And, you saw the folks on Twitter talking about, maybe it's time to bring up Bobby Witt Jr., who's played, less than 40 professional games at the rookie level. But so that, I was sort of like pump the brakes on that. But I think the other thing that people wondered about was like, okay, is Matheny going to, sort of get into him? And again, especially now with clubhouse is completely closed, we never really know. But I think Matheny's approach, from my understanding, was more of a encourage, especially when the guy is putting in the work. If a guy was not doing what he's supposed to be doing, I think Matheny might have got into him. We wouldn't have necessarily known about it. But I think Matheny's approach with Mondesi, who they thought was putting in all the work, was more encourage, but point out certain things that he's like, okay, this can't be part of your game. Like, we believe you can do this. We see you doing the work. We believe in you. Keep going. But that ain't it, son. That ain't going to be it. So I think that's more the approach that he took with Mondesi. And, between the encouragement and some time, it looks like it's starting to turn around. Because, again, with the small sample size, I think he's up to the batting like 270 now when, it was 200. And people were like, we got to get somebody else in here. So.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is when something like this happens at the beginning of a season, to start a season, it just amplifies the criticism. If in a 162 game season and Mondesi has these 2 weeks in July or August, you notice it, but it's not an alarm the way it was this time. I think the same is true of the team. You have you lose 10 out of 14 in the middle of summer versus the beginning of the season, and it's just not noticed in the same way. But the Royals off to the slow start. I'll submit this one without comment because we have talked about it before, and it's not really getting a whole lot better. But through 14 games, Royals hitters have struck out 121 times. They've walked 24 times. That's a trend that really needs to change. Look, I love the fact that the Royals are a free swinging team, and their championship teams of 5 years ago were all about putting the ball in play and making the defense work. But you got to take bases too when you can, and the Royals need to get better in that department. So, okay, they start a 3-game series with the Minnesota Twins tonight, and you, Lynn, and everybody else that follows the Royals are going to get to know the Twins in a big way here in the next 2.5 weeks, because this is the first of 10 games against the Twins in the next 14 games for the Royals. They play Minnesota and the Cincinnati Reds exclusively over the next 17 days. It also means that there's a couple of off days for the Royals. The Royals are one of just 3 teams that have played 14 games so far this year. They're going to get a couple of off days next week. I think that'll be a very welcome situation for the Royals. So also, look, the Cubs are a good team. They had double-digit wins, most of the National League. The Twins go into tonight with the most wins in the American League. So part of this Royals record has to do with who they're playing, and it's not been an easy start on the schedule for the Royals. But we'll see if they can get a bounce from last night's victory. And we're going to take a break here. When we come back, you're going to hear from Royals manager Mike Matheny and Nick Heath, who was in a pretty jovial mood after the game on Thursday night. So, Lynn, appreciate you hanging out with us, and we will talk to you again next week.
All right, sounds good.
Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening.
Hey, Skip, I'm not sure where to start here, but you just got to be pretty happy for your guys right now.
Yeah, I think we start with Keller. Flanny, and having him back, a presence on the mound. We talked about kind of getting some guys back, even through that summer camp. Every time we get someone back, it was like that, calling a shot in the arm. But you could feel that today. See Brad back out there, and then Brad be Brad, and did a great job. And then the offense just did what they did, and that's something we've been waiting to see again. We know it's in there. I think it's great for the offense. Every single guy contributed, so a great approach. But also for our pitching staff, just keep coming, because our guys are going to get the offense right. You see days like that, just a huge change in I believe, the momentum of our club.
I wanted to get to the third inning too. You were already up 3-0 at that point, but Monty's hustle double. What kind of bolt of energy did that send throughout the dugout?
You hit it right on the head, Flanny. In my mind, I thought that was kind of that spark. He comes out of the box like he did, and we were talking about it in the middle of the game in the dugout too. About that's what he started by showing that kind of grit. But I just liked how that fight kind of continued through every at bat. We saw that a lot of guys get to 2 strikes and stay with a good approach and fouling off pitches and all the things that we've been talking about that we wanted to see. We saw today, and then you keep staying with that, and next thing you know, you get a couple guys on base, and seeing the long ball with Franco and with Witt, and then Soler hits a monster shot. I mean, Gordo off the wall. Just everybody kind of taking advantage of when we got into those good counts, but they did a lot of fighting in the meanwhile when they did get down.
Thanks, Skip.
Hey, Mike, in the middle of that 6-run inning, I mean, we've talked a lot about some of the frustration. I wonder, are you able to, in that middle of that, allow yourself to just sort of exhale a little bit, or are you still sort of going through, okay, who we got to get lined up, or are you able to sort of take a minute in the middle of that?
Yeah, I exhaled when you guys told me to take my mask off, but I just too much respect for the game to understand that things can happen in a hurry, and but just so happy for our guys. We keep talking about the process that they're buying into, the things that they're working on. We need those kind of innings, those kind of days to give yourself a little bit of room, and then to be able to pitch some other guys, then watch a Kyle Zimmer come in and do exactly what he did on the heels of Brad just having a fantastic outing. I mean, just all those positives build on top of the kind of offense and some really good defense as well. Just one of those overall good efforts, but you could feel that these guys were buying into some of the things that we were seeing. Despite not having the results that we were looking for, you got to have the results, and today was one of those really good.
What are you going to do with the baseball from your first big league hit?
Send it home to my mom. I know my mom's probably at home waiting for me to call her, so I'll definitely go ahead and send that to the house and let them do whatever it is they please with it. I hope they put it up somewhere, but we got a lot of dogs running around the house, so one of them might get to it before it's all said and done.
Is that your first introduction into the center field wall here?
Yeah, it is. I thought the chain link fence was going to be a little bit softer, but I guess not.
You okay, though?
Yeah, we're golden. I'm all right. Maybe my adrenaline's still running a little bit, but we'll be fine.
Can you take us through the emotions of that first big league hit?
Right off the bat, I was hoping it was a little lower than it was, and then we saw Hayward charging a little bit, and the only thing that was going through my head was like, can you trip? Can you lose it? Something like let it fall. And it ended up falling, and I almost had a moment of just like wanting to celebrate right there, but I kind of told myself they got to keep it locked in. Ended up getting to second base, and then that's kind of when it all hit me. That was my first hit, so I kind of had to celebrate a little bit, and then it was get back to business until the game was over with. So I'll do my celebrating later on.
Hey, Nick, I'm in Topeka, so I'm about an hour from Junction City. I actually caught up with your mom today. I'm talking about what this moment means for her. So what does it mean for you to be able to share that with your mom?
This is a blessing. First and foremost, I gotta thank God and for getting me here, for keeping me healthy, for giving me the opportunity to come out here and do this. Dayton, Skip, this whole organization for supporting me and giving me the opportunity to come out here and play the game that I love. As for my mom and my parents and my family, the sacrifice that they made, the time that they gave up just for me to continue to play, it's so many different things. So I know calling her later on is going to be kind of a surreal moment. It'll kind of hit me. I'm sure it'll be kind of emotional, but all the hard work we put in, all the blood, sweat, and tears, stuff like that, you hear, that's real. So my mom deserves way more credit than I could ever give her verbally for everything she's done for me and everything she's done to support me.
Hey Nick, you mentioned the first hit. Did you think you had the hit earlier when that play that was down the line?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I kind of didn't want it because I wanted my first one to be a laser. You know what I mean? Everybody wants their first hit to be a hard hit. So when I saw it go foul, or when they said it went foul, I don't know. I was kind of mixed emotions. I was hoping that, I was like, dang, well, now I really got to get one. But part of me was like, you know what? You can hit a ball so much better than that. And it ended up working out for me. So, man, I'm thankful. That's the only word I can give you to describe how I'm feeling right now is thankful.
And how would you describe sort of this whole day? I mean, like, you'd already been in games. You already had, a stolen base. But your first start and your first hit on the same day.
Coming to the park, I was pretty nervous. I'll be honest with you. I kind of had a whole lot of different things going through my head and just saw the lineup and out there with Gordo, out there with Witt, and we kind of had our guys going. So I was kind of nervous. I wanted to hold up my end. I wanted to, show the guys what I was capable of doing. And then once the game started, the nerves kind of went away. And then I kind of, let my instinct take over. All the practice and stuff we put in, all the work we put in kind of took over from there. So at the beginning of the game, there was a lot of nerves. I was a little shaky. But then once things got rolling and, I saw the offense kind of take off, I really wanted to be a part of what they were doing tonight. And they were great in the dugout, on the field, everywhere. So tonight was huge for the team.
Your phone blowing up?
Yeah, it won't stop vibrating. So I came back to quite a few notifications. I'm gonna do everything I can to get back to those people. I know they understand it, and I got a lot of people from back home in Junction City. It's only 2 hours from here. Got a lot of people from back home celebrating. A lot of people trying to call me and get a hold of me, but I'll say my thank yous, and I kind of let everybody know how the experience was, little by little.
Nick, after you made that last catch, you were on the ground. Were you kind of relishing the moment, or were you in pain when you were on the ground?
I think it kind of shocked me that I hit the wall, and then my shoulder started hurting a little bit, and I was like, nah, I'm not going to stay down here very long. Gordo asked me if I was okay, and some of those things you kind of just got to run off so you don't think about it too much. So I tried to get up as quick as I could and keep it moving. And we'll worry about the rest of that stuff later on. I'm kind of riding a little high right now.
You'll get a little ice before the night's over.
For sure. Ice at the house, too.
All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Nicky.
That'll do it for today and this week on Sports Beat KC. Thanks to our production staff of Derek Donovan, Randy Mason, Beth Welsh, Jeff Rosen, Savannah Smith, and Chris Fickett. Tip of the cap to Lynn Worthy, who talked Royals with us today. Links to Royals stories can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com. Hey, earlier in the episode, you heard me talk about the Sports Pass offer. It still stands. It's still a good one. $30 for a year's worth of sports coverage, and that includes the Sports Extra that comes with the e-edition. There's more than 40 additional pages of national sports coverage today. Here's an even better offer. Buy the entire Kansas City Star product. Sports, news, features, commentary, and analysis, the whole thing. You get all the stories written by my talented colleagues, plus additional news, sports, and business coverage. The details can be found at account.kansascity.com/subscribe. That's account.kansascity.com/subscribe. And whether it's the Sports Pass or the full subscription, you're getting and supporting the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City and helping us produce programs like Sports Beat KC. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back Monday with a new episode.